this is a test to see how things are going. Hopefully, it's not too shit. But it seems like it's sounding okay. Alright, seems like I want to talk like this, but I mean that's fine. I'm a little bit closer. It seems like the closer I get, the more audible I sound. Awesome, okay, looks like we're fucking ready to go. It's been a month. Again, this is mostly for myself. To fucking play through the game, because I want to play through the game, the visual novel, fully. And then I'm going to rewatch the series. And once I do that, I plan on watching the new one that came out. So it's kind of just like getting all the perspectives before watching the new one, which isn't really new anymore because it's been out for a fat minute, but I haven't watched it because I need to do this. So this will be epic. Where did I leave off? I don't fucking know. I guess at the end of chapter 6. On April 7th, we are on May 31st. Cool. I will load it, yes. So I think I remember the things that I think started getting a little crazy. Keiichi heard more about the about Oyashiro-sama's curse. And I think this is the day following the festival, and I'm gonna see how loud that is. It could be loud for me, and I don't know. Nice, how are you? Yeah, I'm gonna put that down a little bit. I don't remember how to. I think that should be fine. Okay, so good morning, nice job yesterday, Keiichi-chan. And already we've started fucking up. This is awesome. This is just gonna be a great time. You didn't do so badly yourself, Mion. Yesterday was fun. Oh, that's right, Keiichi-kun, thank you very much. For Mr. Bear. Oh yeah, we had gotten rid of the stuffed animal through the festival, which is one of the things that they did not show in the anime. That I do remember for a fact, not being there. I'm glad you liked it. Don't use it as a pincushion though. I wouldn't. Well, that's kind of like my dong just rising up from the ashes. Anyway, still chatting happily, we entered the classroom, but the moment I stepped into the room, a splashing sound and a nasty sensation. It was a bucket filled to the brim with water, of course, and unfortunately my foot stepped right into it. Back to the end. Hi now, how diligent of you to mop the floor this morning? Plump, plump, plump. Quick, I don't know. Wahahaha. Keiichi-san flicked my forehead. That's what you're supposed to get. You should set up more brutal traps next time. Saying that Rena begins to swoon as Mion looks on dejectedly. Sorry. Everything was the same as always. Everybody was there and nothing felt out of place. Yet. Okay, we'll skip that. The uncertainty I've had in the back of my mind since yesterday had vanished. What is it, Keiichi-kun? Didn't get enough sleep, maybe? Maybe? I slept like a dog, but if you want, I'll do a reenactment during class. You shouldn't do that. Mion alerted us that the teacher was coming, so everyone shuffled off to their seats. Good morning, everyone. So yesterday was the festival. Thank you to all the people who stayed until the very end to help clean up. We were all slackers, so none of us actually helped clean up. SMH. You're there for the fun, but you're not there to clean up. Actually, I had a feeling that the only thing we did was run around the festival and cause a ruckus. Okay then, this time of the year you might see some people here from out of town doing interviews about the festival for magazines. I thought it was the usual stuff, so I was going to tune it out, but then I noticed a different tone in her voice and started paying attention. You may be asked questions. Please don't say anything silly or something that could be taken the wrong way. Do you understand? In unison, everyone replied, "Yes, ma'am." What she said was really vague, but I understood what she was trying to say. Yeah, the curse. After all, this was the 5th year. It's true. There were probably lots of third-rate reporters pouring in, hoping something regarding the curse had happened. It did nothing but perpetuate the village's bad image. She was saying, "Spout stupid shit you think is funny." And now I was one of the ones who needed to keep their mouths shut. I found it rather cute how I felt a sense of unity from such a trite thing, if I do say so myself. I was summoned to club activities after school. Since everybody was still pretty tired from yesterday, we just spent the day relaxing. We spent the day relaxing yeah, that wasn't happening. Today, let's play a classic game of Deduction. How about this one? Oh, a game from overseas. Looks interesting. The instructions are in English, but the rules don't seem that hard. I won't lose you here. I'm not too bad at this game. It seemed that Rena didn't handle this kind of game very well. Okay, Rena. The rules are the person who can match the murderer, weapon, and the scene of the crime wins. Okay, yeah, this I remember. This was in the anime. They did this game. The murder weapon, how shit, yeah. There were 3 kinds of cards comprised of suspects, weapons, and locations. I could see that the names Mion and Rika were written on the suspect cards. Oh, a card with my name on it as well. There are plenty of different weapons too, like knives, axes, and poison. The locations are pretty nice too, like the living room, the study, and the courtyard. So basically, you take out one of each cards. These are the answer cards. So we shuffle the remaining cards and hand them out. We ask each other about the cards and figure out the right ones. I see. So the cards nobody has are the true perpetrators. Then you raise your hand if you know the answer. The game ends when we check if the answer is correct. If you're right, then you get a point. And if you're wrong, you lose a point. Since the game ends, even if no one gets it right, all the cards are gathered up and redistributed. You'll learn as you go. You really have to use your brain. Yeah, I have a small brain, so I'm not good at that. You'll get confused if you don't take notes. The rest you can figure out by playing. So Mion, what's the penalty this time? Everyone directed her attention to Mion. Let's see. We're all a little tired from yesterday, so maybe we'll take it easy with the gopher penalty. We'll be asked to rush out and buy stuff for everyone. So just being asked to go buy stuff like drinks and candy, I guess. I feel like the penalty today is pretty simple. I wonder, is it really? It never is. Is Keiji-san thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah, you don't know what you'll have to go buy. I'm betting Mion would send out whoever loses to buy stuff like hemorrhoid cream or happy family planning manual or other crazy stuff. The cards were lightly shuffled and passed out to each player. The real perpetrator, the correct weapon, and the scene of the murder have been taken out. So that means all the cards I have in my hand are innocent cards. Then I'll go first. Since I'm the co-president, I guess. Well then, Mion, knife, study. You pick one suspect, Mion. You pick one suspect, weapon, and murder scene, and ask each person. If you have any of those cards, then you must say, I have one. However, you don't need to say which one you have. Okay. Yeah, I got it. You too. I have one. Oh my, all of them are here. Three people answered when she asked if they had Mion, knife, and study. So that means that Mion and knife and study are all clear. Not bad. Sorry to drop that down. Now they run an axe lounge. Only 2 people said they had one. Out of Rena Axe lounge, one of them is correct and was part of the crime. go ahead. But wait just a minute, a little. I'm still sorting things out. The game has been taking more than I thought. Oh man, this feels like it's going to be tough. Alright. Now I know it's going, huh? What? Alright. Ren and I were left out cold though. How did you do, H-Boon? I couldn't get it at all. Don't worry, I had no idea either. How can you both be so unsure? You'll both end up in last place together at this rate. That's even worse. Going on flying something together, that's trouble. What if we ended up having to buy the Happy Family climbing guy? I can tell from Casey's expression that he's not very good at the game. What? That's not true. I'll show you the true power of Sherlock Mayabara during the next round. My, that sounds just wonderful. I shall give you quite the thrashing. After that, I managed to stumble across the trick again the game, but I was still always a step or two behind. I saw that Neon was somehow gleaning information from how the other two answered the question. That level of experience was just too much. The only way I could stay to come back was if I became a boss. I thought that was a constant deduction and switched over to the top possible. The important thing is to find out the criminal to win the game. Eureka! Sorry, I need to go to the bathroom. Take your time to squeeze out a nice one. Meat chunk ice cream. I had them pulled off the game and headed down the hall. The air was crisp. I showed just how stagnant the air in the classroom was from our body heat. On the school grounds, some of our classmates were still playing around. After spending some time closing my head, Rena had made her way over towards me. Keishikun, did you call for me? Yeah, I did. As I got up from my seat, I winked over at Rena. I'm glad it worked out. I don't want to waste much time, so I'll get right to the point. Rena, what's your record at this game we're playing today? She was taken aback after a moment. She hesitantly opened her mouth. Well, all losses. Why do you ask? I wonder. Tell me how apprehensively she was playing. The way things are going, I was as well. I can't figure out a way to pull off the last minute comeback at this one. So I guess both of us will be taking that penalty. Hey, don't let the feet already. How about we win this? Both of us. But how can we? I brought my little sense of Rena's here. Whisper, 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 whisper. Is that allowed? Did you forget Rena, the second level of our society? Do everything you're proud of, do you right? Yeah, I'll try my best. So, grand plan. I thought attack was quite rudimentary one. At the beginning of the game, everyone would be focused on their own hands for a while, taking notes and whatnot. Since our seats were right next to each other, we could feel our hands from each other. If we did it under the desk, then nobody would know. We could get the game with twice as much information as everyone else. Having this much information would mean we need to investigate less. With this sort of plan of attack, we start off with a big lead over the other guys. Yeah, this way, with this, we could probably win. We both smart at each other. If I was a shitty business owner, Rena was the corrupt senator. Pleasure doing business with you. Then, let's hurry back. We'll work as we do a surprise one. Hey now, there's no point if we go back together. Would it be like telling them to get already? Oh, sorry, then what should we do? Go back ahead of me, Rena. I'll take my time to go back after watching my face or something. Okay, got it. Rena turned around and headed back to the classroom. I guess I should have waited a little longer for going back. I wasn't sure it would seem like I went to the bathroom again. I was suspecting something, and there could be problems. Well, they'd figure it out sooner or later because both Rena and I would start winning over and over again. Both Rena and I have earned enough points to avoid being losers by the time Neon realizes what was happening. Excellent. Not bad at all. Mayabara-kun, may I have a moment? Huh? It's the teacher. Man, things are just getting good. What is it? I'm a bit. You have a guest. Please make your way to the entrance. A guest? It's not like I own a hotel. They have been waiting. Please hurry. It was rather unfortunate that I'd had someone waiting on me right before my big match, but I was more interested in the unexpected guest. I didn't want to waste any time, so I decided to take care of it quickly. The entryway was a heavy contrast from the hot sunlight and deep shadows. What was it? The entryway, waiting there looked uncomfortably warm, was a middle-aged man, his ties sloppily loosened and his jacket tucked underneath his arm. "Are you Mayabara-san? Keiichi Mayabara-san?" There was no question that he wasn't a resident of Hinamizawa, and that this was without a doubt the first time he had met me. Ever since I met Tomatakisan, I'd been running into so many middle-aged men. "That's right. Who might you be?" "I have the AC on in my car. Let's talk there." "It's a bit hot here, don't you think?" The man completely ignored my question, pointed over to his car parked near the gate, and began walking. You've got to be kidding me. I have no intention of going along with some geezer I didn't even know. And he was asking me to get in his car with him? "I'm not going to bite. Come on now." He opened the back door of his car and called me over. I didn't like this old man, but I wanted to know what this was about. Even knowing that conversations that start out like this have never led to anything good. Oh yeah, they're in Japan. The fucking steering wheel's on the right-hand side. The inside of his car was pretty cool. Cars with air conditioners were supposed to be a luxury. My dad didn't have one in his car, at least. "Please let me know if it's too cold for you, okay? I have a habit of cranking it all the way up." "So what business do you have with me?" Out of spite, I decided to ignore his remark in the same way. Oh, okay. His remark in the same way he had did to me, and start my own line of questioning. He pulled out a notepad from his pocket and took out a picture that was stuck between the pages. On it was the face of a pretty goofy-looking guy. "If you know anything related to this individual, then please tell me. Who the heck is this?" I doubt even his close friends would have been able to recognize who he was from this expressionless picture that looked like it was taken at the DMV. There was scribbles on his shirt done by permanent marker, starting with "Yours, Mayabara-san," and quite a few of your classmates signed as well. Huh? This is Tomatakisan? There was no hint of his usual unreliable and easygoing personality in this photo. It was an expressionless, half-asleep face. "Then do you know this woman?" Even before seeing it, I had a good idea of who it was. I don't remember her name, but she's some lady who was with Tomatakisan last night. Oh man, I just gotta say, the ambiance, the music, does it justice. In the anime, it's good as well, but this is what's coming off here is more ominous. I like that a lot. Okay. I didn't know what her name was, but I did know she was a resident of Hinamizawa. "When was the last time you saw these two?" "The night of the Watanagashi. We spoke. They seemed pretty close, I guess. Did anything bother you about them? Anything is fine. Go ahead and say it." Being asked for every little detail is very troubling, honestly. I had a pretty good idea of who this guy was by now. Did something happen to them? There was no response to my inquiry. Thus I replied to that, silence in kind. I was pretty certain that this guy was a cop. Then why? What was he asking about Tomatakisan? Did something happen to him? More importantly, why me? Shouldn't there have been plenty of other people who knew more about him than I did? The roar in the air conditioner felt unbearably loud. After a long pause, he finally spoke again. "You've moved here just recently, isn't that right, Mayabara-san? Are you aware, I wonder, about the stories of Oyashiro-sama?" My heart began to race. I'm pretty terrible at hiding things. It probably showed on my face. "Not at all. If you don't, then that's fine." "Well, I have heard of it. Tomataki-san told me, actually." "How much do you know about it?" The dismemberment killing, the accidental death, the death by illnesses, followed by suicide, and the lady who was beaten to death, the incidents that always happen the day of the Watanagashi, ending in suspicious deaths. I didn't think Tomataki-san would have kept anything from me. I think that was everything. No, rather, I didn't want to think there was anything more than that. Do you know of that? Well, curse Mayabara-san? Feel free to speak openly about it. I don't believe in it. My answer was instant. It wasn't so much that I didn't believe in it as I was on the verge of believing. I wanted to clear away my own doubts that was more prominent. That was the more prominent feeling. Really? Then that's great. Guess you really are one of those city-raised boys. So what if I don't believe? I have friends waiting, so could you get to the point? The man in this picture is dead. My mind went blank. Huh? What happened to Tomatakisan? It would seem that he died last night. That was the night of the Watanagashi. Do you understand the implications behind that, Maibara-san? Implications? Not any, Ara. Not any for the cause of his death or the reasons behind it. The real problem was that he died on the day of the Watanagashi. Meaning, this year, the curse of Oyashiro-sama had once again. The death of Jiro Tomitake is still confidential. You can understand why that is, right? I didn't want to understand why. Please tell me. Tell me what happened. It was rather peculiar. It might be a little too graphic for someone born and raised in Hinamizawa. It was a roundabout way of saying it, but it caused me to doubt whether or not I wanted to hear the rest. I would only regret forcing myself to learn of something I shouldn't. Or at least, that's how I figured I would feel if I listened to the rest. One of our patrol... Dude, I'm telling you, the ambiance just adds so much more. This is fucking amazing. One of our patrol cars discovered the body on the way back from security detail at the festival. It was late, about 5 till midnight. The location was, you know where the road into town becomes paved, right? Down past that slope on the shoulder around there. There were a few street lights on that road. I'm actually gonna go a little bit higher. Its pitch black darkness was only broken by the lights of passing cars and the moon. It was a stroke of luck that Tomatakisan was spotted collapsed on the shoulder of the road. Tomatakisan was face down, covered in blood. Blood and muck covered the asphalt. We thought it was a hit and run at first, but then the officer checked to see if he was still alive. He quickly noticed something abnormal. His throat had been ripped open. Nails. Nails? As in fingernails? With those he clawed through? From the coroner's report, it was revealed that it was with his own nails. What? Huh? What does that mean? Basically, it means it wasn't a murder. It was suicide. Tomatakisan thought there was a reason to tear open his own throat. As hard as he could with his own nails, tore through the skin until he started to bleed. And even then, Tomatakisan didn't stop. He continued clawing with enough intensity that it could have peeled off his nails, still clawing. Then as his nails reached those vital arteries that he should never damage, he continued clawing. Blood splattered on the ground around him. As he bled, while gasping for breath, he collapsed, his body spasmed, and he died in agony. We thought drugs were to blame, but nothing of the nature was detected. But it was a suicide? I've never heard of such a thing. This unnatural way of dying. If it wasn't a mysterious death, then what was? The way he died, in these 5 years, his death most resembled that of a curse. As if to show both myself and Tomatakisan, who proclaimed there was no such thing as a curse, that we were wrong. There were a few more suspicious details from his body chemistry, perspiration, epilation, and so on. We concluded that he was in a state of hysteria right before his death. That was a given. It's hard to believe someone could be in a sound state of mind while clawing out their throat. Wounds on his hands matched a discarded piece of lumber found nearby. There are traces of where he struck trees with guardrails, and the guardrails within it. Tomatakisan's blood was found all over the place, meaning that while tearing at his own throat, he was swinging around a piece of lumber. There were external injuries, which were not self-inflicted, discovered on Tomatakisan. There is a high probability Tomatakisan was assaulted. The external injuries suggest there may be multiple suspects. To summarize, Tomatakisan was surrounded and attacked. While wandering the night roads in a state of panic after being cornered, he picked up a piece of lumber and tried fighting back. Somewhere in there, he began madly tearing at his own throat, clawing at it. Then he died. The presumed time of death was around 9:23 p.m., meaning it occurred right after you finished talking to Tomatakisan at the festival. Everyone signed Tomatakisan's shirt and parted ways. Right after that, oh yeah, he should have been with that woman. What about her? She's missing. She hasn't shown up to work and she hasn't returned home either. There is a very high probability that she was involved in this incident. For a while, I could only gaze off into space. I never would have thought that something unfortunate happening to somebody close to me could affect me this deeply. The time I had spent with Tomatakisan was short, but we went to the same festival, spent time together, and took part in the same competition. He was one of us. We have been continuing the investigation on various fronts, but when it comes to Oyashiro-sama's curse, the villagers here aren't very cooperative. That, I knew well. I would have been none the wiser if not for Tomatakisan, the outsider, telling me. So that's why you came to me, because I'm not originally from Hinamizawa. I should have been angry with that was the reason he wanted to hear what happened for me. If things go the way they have been, then the conclusion would be that Jiro Tomatakis died from Oyashiro-sama's curse. He turned away from me and gazed far off into the distance. The night of the Watanagashi, during the sacred ritual, he callously snapped off photos, angering Oyashiro-sama. That's how it's going to turn out. There's no way Oyashiro-sama would inflict divine punishment on Tomatakisan. Tomatakisan had to have been killed by humans, and a cowardly group no less. There's no way I'm going to let this end up being the fault of some curse. I think so as well. There's no such thing as divine punishment or curses. The tense mood was cut with the man's hearty laugh. That's how this must be, Mayabara-san. Cooperation from individuals in Hinamizawa who don't believe in the curse is indispensable. Understand? Neither Tomataki-san nor I believed in curses. But with the way things are going, it would just end up with Tomataki-san's death marking the 5th year, which would mean that Hinamizawa had rejected Tomataki-san. That was something I couldn't allow. Tomataki-san was one of us. He didn't live in Hinamizawa, but he came every single year, in a sense. He was more of a resident than I was. There was no way that Tomataki-san could have been cursed by Oyashiro-sama, but there was nothing I could do to help. I have no idea what happened that night either. Now, no. If you see or hear something that draws your attention, then that is enough. If I see or hear, he was talking in the future tense. Things or people or rumors, anything is fine. Where's it from? Oh, well, I'm recording, that's fine. Alright. Things or people or rumors, anything is fine. I don't care if they're unfounded. Here, this is my number. If I'm not there, then just leave a message with whoever picks up. He handed me a piece of paper with his number on it, but I hesitated for a second. If I took it, then whether I wanted to or not, I'd be mired knee-deep in this matter. Please help me solve these questions surrounding Tomataki-san's unfortunate death. That's right. Why was I hesitating? I needed to find the murderer who killed my friend. I snatched up the piece of paper as a satisfied grin spread across his face. Everything we spoke of today is a secret. Please keep this confidential. Understood. From your friends as well, especially from Sonozaki-san and Furuta-san. Please do not inform them. Sonozaki? You mean Mio? Why? Are you saying that they have something to do with the incident? With my friends' names brought up so abruptly and being told to keep it a secret from them, I became rather angry. This is what they call investigative privilege, I suppose. Don't play games with me. Mion is a close friend of mine. I snapped at him, but he didn't seem to especially be offended. I wouldn't mind telling you, but it may just upset you. Say it. He hesitated a little. Turning his gaze to the outside of the car, he began to speak after thinking for a bit. There was a possibility that the string of incidents happening here in Hinamizawa are a result of the village conspiracy. There's no way that could be right. Give me a break. First of all, is there some proof? Is there any proof of that? No evidence. Also, each of the cases were resolved, and none of the perpetrators had any direct connection to the village. Then how do you come up with that conclusion? Every year, the enemies of the village die on the day of the Watanagashi. Don't you think that's enough reason to suspect something? Only the residents of Hinamizawa felt that the day of Watanagashi was sacred. So basically, because incidents happened on that day, it was somehow related to Hinamizawa. First, it was the dam. It was for the dam construction foreman. Then it was the villager who supported it. Those the village hold a grudge against died, one after the other, for mysterious causes. The means are different, but in the end, the result is the same. Unfounded, unreasonable suspicion. But I couldn't just be shrugged off. So the victims after that, what about the Shinto priest and his wife's death? They weren't enemies of the village. The villagers had expected leadership from the Shinto priest at the time of the dam dispute, but he wasn't provocative. So there was a faction of villagers who harbored ill will towards him as a result. Ill will, it's not like he did anything bad to the village. What about the housewife after that? Did she die just because she was the wife of the brother of a supporter? That's such a trivial reason to kill someone. And what about Tomatakisan? He's not affiliated with the dam project at all. He was killed just because he was an outsider? In the beginning, it all fell on those related to the dam project, but as the years went on, the enemy threshold of the victims had become much lower. Well, that's the scary part. The bar keeps getting lower. What's scary about that? It means it's not just enemies of the village anymore. Just being an outsider is reason enough. The next year's victim, they're just going to be picked out of the village outsider pool. It might be a person that just moved here. What do you mean by? I swallowed my words. Here in Hinamizawa, the ones who would be considered the most outside would be my family. I was proof enough of that, wasn't I? I still couldn't really remember the names of the people I passed by. Then, the next victims, my family. Was he saying it was going to be me? But what does that have to do with Mion? I can't go into details, but the Sonozaki family led the dam protests. Quite fervently so. This is also true of Mion Sonozaki-san herself. She has quite a few misdemeanor and obstruction of public worker offenses on her record because of the protests. I knew Mion knew what it meant to fight. This is the first I'd heard of her family leading the protests, though. Then, well, what does it all mean? Are you saying that Mion's family is involved with this string of incidents? I wouldn't go that far. I'm just saying that if it was a conspiracy, then they'd have to the highest probability of being behind it. Not a very clear explanation. I felt like he'd magnificently avoided the details I really wanted to know. We don't know who or how involved anyone is right now. That is exactly why I don't want you to say anything to the villagers. Instead of answering, I gave a very bitter expression. It seemed that he understood it well enough. And think of it like this. I don't want to worry the villagers who blindly believe in its curse. How about that? What do you mean, how about that? How should I know? But the reasoning behind wanting me to not carelessly open my mouth about it wasn't too hard to comprehend. The perpetrator was here. It had nothing to do with the curse. He was definitely going to be caught by the police and made paid for his crimes. And none of the villagers should have anything to do with that process. It may cause those sensitive about the curse to just worry needlessly. Just like everyone kept it from me, so I wouldn't worry about it. Is it now my turn to keep it from them so they don't have to worry about it? I was just talking to myself. Unlike me, everyone else had been worrying over these mysterious incidents yearly, and the incident this time probably means a lot more of them. A lot more to them. I didn't want to burden them anymore. In the end, everything went as the man had wanted, as as it was, but I couldn't be helped. I understand. I'll keep it to myself. Is that fine? I'm Mr. Oishi from the Okinomiya police station. You can call me Kuda-chan if you want. No, Oishi-san is fine. The way he said it was unpleasant, yet retained hints of politeness. He was the spitting image of a vulgar police officer. Though I've never seen one this bulky before in the cop shows I watch. I've taken up too much time. Your friends are waiting, aren't they? I should probably let you get back to them. The door opened with a click and streamed the oppressive heat. It was blistering outside of the car. Was it really this hot of a day? It was an almost cruel heat as opposed to the mechanical coolness inside the car. If it was as if the land of Hinamizawa itself suddenly hated me. I felt a little sad as the thought crossed my mind. I didn't mean to suspect your friend. Please don't misunderstand that. I refrained from telling him that it was too late. He said something that felt server. It's fine if you don't see or hear anything, my Higurashi. There is enough proof that the village is not involved. I'll contact you if you hear or see anything, but I'm no detective. Please don't expect too much from me. I won't. You don't have to become a detective. Just go on living as you have up to until now. Just let me know if you notice anything. I hastily made my way back to the school building after giving him a quick bow. See you later. Farewell, my Higurashi. I returned to the school building without looking back. I don't know how much time had passed. I did feel bad for keeping them waiting, but right now there was a lot on my mind. Tomatakisan's death was hard enough as it was, but to think that there was a possibility of a village conspiracy, worse still, there was also a chance that Mion was involved. Nonsense. Impossible. Not Mion. Rena, Sadako, or Rika-chan. It was a group that attacked Tomatakisan. Who could the perpetrators be? Could it be they were hiding here somewhere in Hinamizawa? I didn't know. All I could say was for certain was that I knew that Mion couldn't be the perpetrator. It's Me-chan, the perpetrator. Huh? With the rope in the lounge. Nope. No! Don't push your head while flaring out. Looks like you're just self-destructing over here. Wow. Keiichi-san, you're quite late. As you may well know, I'm eating a finger. Sorry about that. I was called into this afternoon. You were reprimanded for bad behavior? That's a shame. Well, it's been pretty heated over here. It's getting pretty late. Let's make it another day, the last one. If I remember right, I have 0 point. Isn't it pretty much excited that I'm going to be the last place? Don't worry, Keiichi-san. I'm at negative 1 points. Your story is lower than mine, and I wasn't even playing. This is the final match to decide if this penalty is going to be carried out by Rena alone or by both Keiichi-san and Rena. Yeah, right. Just let Rena do the penalty by herself. We made a promise that we would both win. I would it all the time, you know. I'm sorry about that. I followed my initial plan of trying to run my cards, but I didn't say who was criminal, just waited for her to fall. I got it. The murderer is me, with the poison and the answer. Is it? My Ren, why is what the answer? Was that and darn well. That's correct. Then it's better that Keiichi-san was part of the penalty as well. Hooray! What's your about? Yeah. What's your about? Sometimes I call it usually awake when it's time to eat, but it doesn't look like I can do it today. I was watching TV until late last night. I'm a bit tired. I'm tired right now. That's one of those raunchy TV shows you love so much on that side. How extremely vile. Don't jump to conclusions. It's perfectly normal for boys not to be ashamed about. We've not patting my head only made me feel worse. Could you just let me patch out this constructive? You think I would just sit here and allow that? I'll get really angry if you disturb me. Really angry. This is just dreadful. That's so sleepy. I thought my head into the desk and ripped it off into an afternoon nap. I thought I could have responded, but I presented not to hear. Cut it out, thought I would try and teach you from fell asleep. Sleeping stable. So deep. You can take him home later. Let him be for now. Move over there if you're really to Keiichi if he bothers him now. You can try and really educate your own. Let's not wake him up even if he comes back. I take that back. The excuse that I didn't sleep much last night because I was watching TV was a lie. It was a bed. I was abed at the usual time, but because of the conversation with Higurashi-san that afternoon, I didn't get much sleep. Just spending the day like this, it's almost as if the incident with Tomatakisan didn't happen at all. It made me think, was Oishi-san just trying to deceive me? But it was probably the truth. One thing was certain, I couldn't speak to anyone about it. He wanted my assistance, but I really didn't know anything about it. If I knew I wasn't going to be of any help, I wouldn't have listened in the first place. It ended up with me again, regretting learning something I didn't need to know. If I had never learned about it, I would, without a doubt, be goofing off with the rest of them right now. I couldn't help but resent Oishi-san for this. Huh? When was that? I heard he wasn't there the next day. It appears he vanished the night of the Watanabe. Mion whispered to keep others from listening, but I could hear it clearly. On the other hand, Rena's voice was even harder to pick up, but I could still tell that she was quite upset. It couldn't be. Are they talking about Tomatakisan? Itake? Not sure. That's all I know. I would have to feign ignorance about this topic because I needed to keep it a secret. Rather than waking up and being forced to lie to join the conversation, it was much easier just to sit here and pretend I was asleep to listen in on their discussion. Wait, why did I have to pretend to be asleep while eavesdropping on my friend's conversation? The guilt strung. So, and me, there are others, right? Too? But they don't know if it's from the curse or if it was from, or if this was an onikakushi, to be hidden away by a demon. What a mysterious phrase. I did, however, get the feeling it meant nothing good. Well, there was another, right? Right? If it's Oyashiro-sama, yeah. But this year, that all? Grandma and the mayor had talked about it. Seems they talked to the police about it beforehand. They said they'd take care of whatever happens this year without causing a commotion. Then without us knowing it, someone had them, you know? You mean? AB. Next could me, I wonder. Don't worry. You got home safely. But it's not allowed, right? That was a long time ago. Let's stop talking about this. Amidst the uncomfortable mood, both of them went silent. The entirety of the conversation was still a bit unclear, but a few parts caught my attention. First of all, the term onikakushi, to be demoned away. By the context it was used in, I would guess it's similar to being spirited away. I suspected that was what it meant because Tomatakisan and that woman, it really bugged me that I didn't know her name, vanished after the Watanabe. The next thing that stuck out was when Rena said, there's another one, right? Mion also said, if it's Oyashiro-sama, yeah, responding to something. If it's Oyashiro-sama's curse, then there had to be two victims. Is that what she meant? Come to think of it, I remember Mion saying at the beginning that they didn't know if it was from the curse or if it was a case of onikakushi. It seems that the curse had been demoned away, and being demoned away are different things, and they were phenomena that were paired together. I recall Tomatakisan's terrible end. That wasn't something as elegant as disappearing. That horrendous end would best be described as cursed. Then the woman with him, she vanished? It means she vanished? Because she was demoned away? What I do know is that there's normally an even number of victims of the curse proper, and that the last point that bothers was Rena. Rena was frightened. For what reason, I didn't know. However, she knew that something had made her a potential target for Oyashiro-sama's curse. If I recall correctly, Oyashiro-sama should be the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. Isn't a guardian deity supposed to defend the citizens and drive out invaders? If I recall correctly, yesterday Ooshi-san said that originally the targets were enemies of the village, but recently there was no longer any distinction between them or regular outsiders. But if that was the case, then I would think that I'd be more likely to be targeted, having moved here more recently than Rena. From her composure, I could infer that she was grimly certain that she would be next. I should probably relay what I just heard now to Ooshi-san, if I can get those mixed up. Informing the police of what I heard by eavesdropping on my friends while pretending to be asleep, it made me feel terrible. It raised a few questions and left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Would it be better not to ask the answers to those questions? As I continued to learn more and more, I felt like I had fallen past the point of no return. I would definitely regret this one day. I would definitely regret ever having learned of these events. The teacher approaches. Keiichi-san, you must awaken. In the distance, I could hear the ringing of the handbell, signaling the start of afternoon classes. Yes, I couldn't sleep at all. I hastily opened my eyes and raised my head. It was in that moment when I leaned against the back of my seat. Ow. There was a thumbtack crushing on the back of my chair with pain. Circumstantial evidence was enough. Sasato. Guilty without trial. Capital punishment. I first to jump up to my seat, and I tripped as my shoelaces had been tied together. Not bad, Sadako. While I was sleeping, you were able to conceal your presence and able to pull off this fine piece of work. The teacher came and ran his nose while the pole off my shoes and sat on the floor. Did you not notice that our teacher has arrived? Keiichi-san, take your seat. Which would. Not caring one day, I made her eat a flip to the forehead. Wow, Keiichi-san is being mean. Hey, don't become the younger kid my daughter. Apologize to her. Correct. Come on, my daughter. Yeah, I'll apologize. Sorry, but come on. Anyways, I apologize because it was complete insincere tone of voice. Damn, you're all into this. Keiichi-chan, get your revenge at the club meeting. Get your seat. I sat down and after me on the close to she switched to classroom representative. Class is finished. School is finally leaving. Now then, what should we do for the club today? Personally, I would like to play that deduction game one more time. I was hardly able to play last week as well as she said. Brenda and I weren't even able to test out our strategy. That's right, today Casey, Quinn, and I will be exploring. What should we do? We've never played this game 2 days in a row before. Why not try this with me? That she gets paid for it. It's quite a bit of spending money from what I hear. She was able to pay for that mountain of games which she had saved up from there. But that wouldn't you call it a part-time job? That wouldn't, you call it what do you call that, a part-time job? Isn't that against school policy? That's a clause that states family businesses are excluded. Is that what she's calling it? So what now? Pass on the club today? So we're done today, I guess. Won't it be fine even without the club president? Let's do this. I opened the club locker and began searching for the deduction game from that ever-growing pile of games. Ah, here it is. The deduction game from yesterday. Man, I had to stop just as I was getting the hang of it. At the very least, I wanted to repay Sadako for what she did during the afternoon break. Sick. I don't mind. I do not mind. I do not. But I guess that she's not. But is that fine for Renaissance and Rika? If Keiichi-kun wants to so badly, I wouldn't mind playing for a bit. I think it's better if we do it when we have everyone together. When she says it like that I wanted to go shopping if there wasn't a club meeting today. Going to buy some soy sauce and other things. Oh no, soy sauce. Oh, that's right. I completely forgot. Well, I guess since it's been a while, I should go treasure hunting. What's this now? Everyone was no longer in the mood for the club activities? Yeah, see ya, loser. Fuck club activities for fucking nerds. If I keep on trying to push the matter, it may make them realize I had a trick up my sleeve. Ah well, I'll give up this time. Man, I really was looking forward to playing it. I shuffled through the cards as if I was still caught up on it. At the next opportunity, I shall give you a sound thrashing. Oh. The murderer is Sadako. The murder weapon is the pistol, and it was you after all. What did you say? Then I'll just... Sadako looked through the cards and the desk and stuck out 3 of them at me. The murderer is Keiichi. An allowance with the rope. I don't need... I'll just strangle you like this. Oh, jeez. No, Keiichi-san. You're such a beast. I'm getting weird vibes. Well, I guess it's good that I got that out of my system. But I'll remember this Keiichi-san. She was used as a plaything for quite a while. How unfortunate. Cute. Okay. Everyone got ready to go back home. I also helped gather up the scattered cards. I put in the cause. They were just the suspect cards, but I noticed something strange. Rana, Sadako, Rika, Keiichi, Mion. Oh, here's the other one. Here's a... I know. Satoshi. Satoshi? Who the fuck? Not all the cards were made by us. Or at least every card besides this one has the name of a club member. Does this mean that this Satoshi fellow is a member? Was there someone in the class named Satoshi? I couldn't find anyone named Satoshi on the class roster stuck up on the wall. Keiichi-kun, let's hurry and finish cleaning up. Being rushed by Rena, I finished up quickly. Satoko and Rika-chan had already headed merrily for their lockers, so we were the only ones left in the classroom. Right now, Rena had already gotten her bag and was ready to leave. Rena, there must be quite a few people who transferred from the school, right? I tried asking Rena in a bit of a roundabout way. Rena made a troubled face and then answered, yeah. Hinamizawa is a rural town, right? Some people transfer out every now and then. Then is Satoshi another one of those transferees? Sorry, I don't really know. There was a bit of a pause, then, but the answer was pretty much immediate. I'm not saying it to be mean, just last year I transferred in, so maybe I just missed him. So I didn't hear much about him. Sorry. I'm not sure if sorry. Her answer was a lot like when she refused to tell me about the murder at the dam. I was saddened by her denial and felt a little bit of anger. I'm their friend, aren't I? Friends don't keep secrets from their friends, do they? Well, you'd be surprised. Though I do appreciate that they kept the unsettling curse thing from me, but if everyone is worried about it, I'd rather be worried with them. That's what it means to be friends, right? For a moment, I wondered just what kind of face I was making just then, with these mixed feelings of sadness and annoyance. Keiichi-kun, you're making a scary face. Why is it? Why? It was probably exactly the kind of face Rena said it was. It appeared my grim expression had frightened her. Sorry. I was really looking forward to the club today. I'm just feeling down about it. I rustled Rena's hair. Let's go home. Dragging that awkward mood with us, we headed home. I wonder why. Why have I been getting this dumb feeling lately? I didn't know anything. I had nothing to worry about. I was just enjoying my everyday life. My longing outstretched shadow gave no answer to my naive inquiry. Keiichi-kun, are you tired, maybe? Maybe? Rena timidly questioned the reason behind my mood. I'm sure my expression made the situation even more unsettling. You think so? Yeah. You seem to have been a little out of it ever since this morning. Maybe a cold? Physically, I was pretty sure I was in perfect health. I may not seem like it, but I've had perfect attendance since elementary school. Rena continued on since I didn't give her an answer. It could be that the fatigue from moving has finally caught up to you. It's completely different from where you used to live, after all. Of course, we've gotten tired since there's so much you need to get used to and remember. Maybe that's it. Yeah, it has to be. Rena was also like that at first, too. I can tell, you know? I wondered if Rena also experienced this slight bit of alienation last year that I was feeling right now. Thinking so, I felt that she was the only one who could understand how I felt. I'd like to hear about when you first came to Hinamizawa. How was it? Feeling I had been drawn into the conversation, her face suddenly brightened. It was the same as Keiichi-kun. I didn't know the villagers' names at all. Mi-chan and the rest were all very kind, so I wasn't lonely. But I did feel a little bit out of place. Brenda told me all the details of when she moved here. All of her first acquaintances and surprises, worries and good times. So Sadako got me too. Yeah. There was a fun fact put on my chair. Oh, then with that that really takes me back. When you were invited into the club the first day? Nah, there wasn't a club at the beginning. It was formed partway through. One day, she said we should stay after and hold a big game tournament. Come to think of it, Mion did say she was the first club president. Now I get it. This is a secret, but Mi-chan used to be really bad at the beginning. She'd never win. Huh? Mion, really? I can't even imagine that. She had to do most of the penalties that she came up with. Seriously, don't tell me. I can't believe Mion was like that. So she gradually transformed into a monster who used any means necessary to win during that time. Mion is at her best when she's fighting dirty. I began making more friends besides Mi-chan after that, but yeah. I might have only been since you moved here, that I had finally felt like I had gotten used to it here. I guess Rena had also been left in the dark about Oyashiro-sama when she had just moved here. I guess when they finally told me about Oyashiro-sama, I'd be considered one of them. I wonder when I'll finally be considered one of them. Huh? Did you say something? No, sorry. Just talking to myself. Keiichi-kun, you're silly. Rena was poking fun and laughing at me, and I couldn't help but laugh as well, but I suddenly stopped. Then after making up my mind, I spoke. Hey Rena, is there something that everybody is keeping from me? Huh? No, not at all. You're lying, aren't you? Rena suddenly stopped. Her expression was cold and intense. What do you mean by that, Keiichi-kun? Her tone was still the same cheery and light-hearted one as before. You are, aren't you? Keeping something from me. After understanding what I meant, her expression grew even more intense. Seeing that face, I regretted saying something so rash, but she came back at me in the way I didn't expect. Well then, Keiichi-kun, aren't you keeping something from us? Huh? Her tone didn't change, but it was the first time I'd seen this expression from Rena. With how her gaze pierced through me, I couldn't believe this was the same Rena. Aren't you? Lies or secrets, aren't you? You are. Secrets. She didn't actually say that part, but she looked as if she did. The incident with Tomatakisan and how I felt alienated from the group. Even without having to think about it, there were things I knew that I felt guilty about, but I didn't tell everyone about what happened with Tomatakisan to be considerate. I was keeping it a secret just the same way they didn't tell me about Oyashiro-sama. Then aren't we even? No, I'm not. No lies, no more secrets. Liar. Her answer was instant and it shook me. Rena stared as if burrowing through me, watching me like a hawk. Why would you say I'm lying? Didn't you say that you were called into the teacher's room yesterday during the club meeting, Keiji-kun? I know. You didn't go to the teacher's room. I swallowed hard. It clearly wasn't a bluff. She knew what happened. The teacher said you had a guest, didn't she? But you didn't talk at the entrance. You talked instead of a car near the school gate with some man we don't know. Rena knew everything. She knew that I wasn't called out by Higurashi-san, and that I heard about the incident with Tomatakisan as well. Did she know all of it? Exactly who was that man? I don't know. Why does someone you don't know have business with you? Why did someone you don't know have business with you? I want to know that myself. Then what did you talk about? It has nothing to do with you guys. It was a lie. Lies! Rena's scream echoes through the trees, sending fighting birds into the air. Turning tail, the deep breath I had just taken. No, it was like I wasn't allowed to exhale. It was here I first realized. The person in front of me, she wasn't Rena Ryugu. Then who was it? I'm fucking retarded. Then who was it that she was standing before me now? Who had assumed Rena Ryugu's appearance? I had held my breath for so long I could feel myself suffocating. Right? Then she made an official expression that Rena normally might have made. I was correct. It didn't matter that it was Rena's usual smile. It chilled me to the bone. She drew closer to me. I felt her breath against my face. It wasn't the least bit exciting. Whoever this was with Rena's face was going to chew my nose right off. I cowered as I imagined that. Then she smirked as if she was able to see right through me. We also have secrets, just like how Keiichi-kun has secrets. It was Rena's usual smile, but her eyes were still like that of a hawk's. Bringing her face close enough to mine to almost bump into my nose, she kindly persuaded me. I couldn't nod or shake my head. This person standing in front of me, this person who looked like Rena, frightened me to the core. I was terrified knowing that she could hear the sound of me swallowing nervously. After what felt like an eternity, after a long empty silence, she finally spoke. Let's go. It's getting chilly. It was Rena again. Smiling at me once more, she started walking as if nothing had happened. When I was released from her gaze, my legs gave out from under and I slumped into the ground. I wasn't able to lift a finger until Rena was out of sight. Who was that? I felt cold, my body was drenched in sweat. I was finally able to form a coherent thought and ask myself once again, who was that person? Hell yeah. I wonder how far the first download goes. I don't remember if this was from the. This is just the first episode. I think it might be. I'll go the other way. That's just fucking long. But it's good. Story building. I was out of it, and I couldn't bring myself to do anything until dinner except stare blankly into space. I was terrified for Rena going off on me. No, that's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Rena. Then who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling, knowing that was someone else, not Rena. So tomorrow I shouldn't have a problem talking to Rena like I usually do. That thought was strangely comforting. I concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head, though those thoughts continued swirling around my mind. Finally, I returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the steps. Keiichi, it's a call from the bookstore. Bookstore? Can't think of what they'd be calling me. I went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway. My apologies for calling so late last night. It's me, Oishi, from the Okinomiya bookshop. Oishi-san. Oh, it's Oishi-san. Sorry. Since your parents picked up, I said I was from the bookstore. It puts people off when I say I'm a police officer. Oishi-san was, in his own way, rather courteous. Even so, I didn't want my parents hearing me talk to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back up to my room on the second floor. Sorry for calling so late. That phone number on the piece of paper I gave you yesterday was the old phone number. My apologies. Can you copy down the number I'm about to give you? Oh, yeah. Okay. He gave me the number for his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it, but he began making pointless small talk, and it was pretty hard to hang up. So how has it been, Maibara-san? Did anything strange happen recently? I see. This was the real reason. He really beat around the bush there. beat around the bush there. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed. Are you from around here, Oishi-san? Yeah, I am. Born and raised in Okinomiya. If he's from around here, he might know. Oishi-san, do you know about what this Onika Kushi thing is about? I believe that's when somebody suddenly vanishes because they've been abducted by a demon. It's a special saying from around here. It has the same meaning as spirited away, like everyone else says. Whereas my friends would say they didn't know when I asked, this older man gave me a direct answer. It made me a bit happy that he answered me directly without trying to hide anything. Hinamizawa was not sure if I should tell you this, my Bara-san. Don't try to play this off. If you're going to talk, then... Ooh. I just threw up in my mouth, hell yeah. Anyway, I want to drink some water, hold on. That was disgusting. Moving on. If you're not going to talk, then I'm not going to tell you anything. Oh, no. That's not what I meant. It's just, it may make you feel bad. You see, long ago, Hinamizawa was feared as a village where demons reside. Demons? By demons, you mean those pitchfork-carrying things in hell? More like human-eating monsters. They'd go down to villages snatching people up and gobbling them down, that kind of tale. Demon snatching up people is what this Onikakushi really means. They said that the curse and being demoned away happen together. What does that mean? I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row, but I didn't know there were people disappearing for the same 5 years. The curse and being demoned away happen together? First time I've heard of that. Is that how it is, Maibara-san? That's what I want to know. I heard Rena and Mion talking. They said that if it was really Oyashiro-sama's curse, then both the curse and the demoning away would happen. Oishi-san began hemming and hawing at the other end of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind. Maibara-san, do you know the first incident? The murder by dismemberment? Yeah. One of the 6 perpetrators is still on the run, right? Hypothetically. What if he isn't on the run, but was demoned away? Huh? It was an outrageous hypothesis from Oishi-san. The incident 4 years ago was that the particularly ghastly one. The police already knew the perpetrators, so they posted tons of wanted posters with his face on them. They staked out various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had. But after 4 years, there wasn't even a hint of where he might be, unless the police were completely incompetent. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I couldn't simply laugh it off. Then what about the incident the next year? When the man who supported the project and his wife both died in an accident. Well, actually, it was only the husband who died in an accident. His wife's body never surfaced. Unless we find the body, then it's considered a missing person by law. At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being muddy rapids, the police divers had searched every branch of the main stream and the river for dozens of miles, but in the end, they weren't able to find her body. But that's just them not being able to find her body. She's still dead, right? Isn't it different from her being demoned away? We can't say someone is dead without their body. Until a certain number of years pass by law, she's treated as still alive. I'm not sure if it was right to call that being demoned away. The wife is missing. At least that part was reality. How about the 3rd year? The Shinto priest died of illness, and his wife committed suicide. Maibara-san, that's actually the exact same scenario. The wife had supposedly thrown herself into the bottomless marsh deep in the forest around Hinamizawa, meaning it's all circumstantial evidence. They simply found her suicide out in front of the marsh. A diver was able to recover a few remnants, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigators in headquarters believe that she had faked her death and was still alive somewhere. I'm not sure if we could call these cases as being demoned away. It's just as you said, every year one person does go missing. The incident this year, the woman with the Tomatakisan is gone missing. Then what about the incident with the house beaten to death? Who went missing? I believe the perpetrator was caught, right? Yeah, we arrested him. He was just a miscreant with a record of narcotic abuse. He admitted to the crime while being questioned about a different incident. But, well, you see, After he was arrested, a child from the victim's home went missing. It's still under investigation as to whether the disappearance had anything to do with the crime. But you said you caught him, right? Did he have an accomplice? No idea. It's considered a separate case. Moreover, we can't even check now because while under investigation, that man he died in his holding cell. He swallowed a spork and choked to death. It's not known whether it was an accident or suicide. Meaning, for the last 5 years, there's always one person who dies and one person who goes missing. That's about right. Not actually. No, actually, I'm surprised as well. I never realized they had that in common. I couldn't believe that this could help lead to the closing of those incidents. It was just something they had in common. Could it be that those deep in the way had something in common? Oishi-san mumbled as he seemed to be thinking about it. So I summarized the events. The first year was a dam employee. Second year was the wife of the dam public supporter. Third year was the wife of the Shinto priest. Fourth year was the victim's family's child. And the fifth year was the victim's girlfriend, I guess. It doesn't seem like there's anything that connects them. With the exception of the first year, wives and girlfriends, those things stand out. It does seem like there are a lot. Then that means the fourth year's victim's child was different. It could have really stood out if there were... It would have really stood out if it were all married couples, except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Come to think of it, I believe Tomatakisan also told me that the younger brother is alive and has moved, if I recall correctly. The child that was missing in the fourth year, who were they? Apparently he was quite mature, 1 year older than you. Satoshi. His name was Satoshi Hojo-san. Satoshi? I remember that name. Didn't they tell me Satoshi transferred out last year? He was at your school up until last year. Didn't they tell you anything about him? Come to think of it, when I transferred in, I believe they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Then, where I sat once belonged to the one who was deemed away was his seat. I recalled the cold sensation that came from that desk. It made my hair stand on end. This strange, mysterious death, no, that she was someone's curse. I now knew how it connected to me. That chilling sensation. It was a feeling of Oyashiro-sama's caressing the back of my neck. Oyashiro-sama's curse, huh? Could Oyashiro-sama's curse really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it, and I was scared. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by man and not the work of a curse. But the more I dug into it, the less likely that seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually, I'd reached the point where I'd learned something I really shouldn't know. To either be none the wiser, or to seek an answer I may regret. Which one would I be happier with? Maybe it'll be me next time. My execution could only be delayed for 1 year. That was when I remembered Rena. Rena said that she may be the next victim of the curse. You mean Rena Ryuga-san? She transferred in last year, and she's your classmate, isn't she? These incidents really might be a bit too disturbing for a girl. She's not just scared, is she? It wasn't that. She said I might be her next. She said it in a way that made me think she had a concrete reason behind it. It felt like she was convinced, almost as if you could say she was frightened. Her sudden change in demeanor at someone who looked like Rena but wasn't Rena. That might be unrelated. All the strange things that I felt from Rena today came back to me. I see. Then I'll be doing a bit of investigating on this end. Please continue your observations of Ryuga-san, Mayabara-san. Are you asking me to keep Rena under surveillance? That's not what I mean, Mayabara-san. I just want you to watch out for your friend, so she doesn't end up the next victim. At that moment, just as my mouth was agape, because I was so impressed with his mature, clever way with words. Knock, knock. A sudden knock at the door sent my heart racing. In an instant, I had pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver. Keiichi, get the door, please. On the other side of the door. Oh, yeah, I fucking remember this part. On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. What could it be? It's so late. Sorry, my dad just came in. Can we leave it at this for tonight? Yeah. My apologies again for calling so late. If you find out anything else, please let me know. I'll tell you if I make any progress on this end. Well then, have a pleasant evening. Keiichi, hurry up and open. Daddy's got his hands full. What is that doing? What is that doing? I had stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. When I opened the door, I saw my father was standing there with a tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea, a fairly fancy spread for our household. There was even sugar and lemon slices on the side area you could ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality. But what's going on, Dad? What's all this for? Come on, Dad, don't play around with me, Jake. I'm coming in. Dad was in my chair and had a smirk on his face. But my entire life I've never seen him act this hospitable. It's hot and really hot here too. So what were we talking about? Junk and play. That's not something I had to keep from my father. But how could I explain it to him? How could I explain to him I was talking to a detective or something it was this late at night? Nothing much, just a friend. I can't believe it. Oh, she was here, wasn't she? Where is she? Fucking ambience. She wasn't here. Come now, don't try to keep it from me. She just came over to play. You two were chatting away, so I thought I'd bring you some tea, but it looks like I just missed her. I had no idea what Dad was talking about, but a cold sweat dripped down my back. How long were we talking? Rena-chan went upstairs about half after, so it was close to an hour, I guess. You saw her come up to the second floor? Yeah, I did. I also told her your room was the door down to the hall. The door down the hall up the stairs. Rena came to my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the second floor. I probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on the conversation with Higurashi-san. I didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so he had her come inside. I told her my room was on the second floor. She thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was getting up to tea and left. She went upstairs and about an hour passed. Then passed by my dad and returned home. Then after she came upstairs and until she left, where was Rena? There's only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had, for about an hour, the hall not shook her head. She could have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. You could easily hear everything being said inside. All the ominous things and all the nonsense I spoke to Oshi-san about began rushing through my head. Honey, don't tease me. Don't tease me. More importantly, you need to clean up your studio. It's a mess again. Mom yelled up Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed Charlotte. I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes, and I looked down at the door around the hall, the doorway where Rena might have stood all the time. Just now, as I was talking to Ochi-san with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away the whole time. All that time in this dimly lit doorway. What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As for the steam coming from the 2 teacups ominously wafting and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. Oh man, it's so much better with the ambiance. I'm having such a better time than with the anime, honestly. The source material is amazing. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong, Keiichi? You don't look so well. You didn't go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. She said it's creepy. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up all my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. I think I did this, or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite, but you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to school, but it was mostly self-study. I wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would I? Would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and I got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Ding dong. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you gonna do? What are you gay? Are you going to take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Then I'll send her off for you. Mom headed off for the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep deprived I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table I found lunch prepared in a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it was really just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Meet the coach. Normally, I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Urie Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. Yeah, you got that right. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Mayabara-san, please make your way to the examination room. Yeah. After properly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "Yeah, you've got terminal AIDS." They gave me a shot of 3 days worth of heroin. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I have been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Yeah, that Mayabara-san, he's not able to pay the medical bill. As we are in America, he has no health insurance and will be charged a great fine and will most likely be in debt. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping. If it just wasn't for that word, must have been in Onikakushi. I wonder. She was still pretty young, might have been eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young one with the big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? Were they talking about Tomatakisan? I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit the job or something. It's a elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san, that woman with Tomatakisan, and she worked at this clinic. Oyashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was a guardian deity of this place, Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. That's true. But can you make your way back? Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from my examination fee on the way home. contemplating that, I realized, oh fuck, the health insurance system is fucked. I don't have any spare change to buy a snack. I'm in a large amount of debt. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around peeved. Maibara-san, good day to you. It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast. He waved at me. What's up today? School? On break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway. I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about the stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. I went with Oishi-san riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Brenna who had been all that time even though the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. They made a snag on their investigation regarding the Tomatakisan. Oishi-san's boat balls peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogenics, given how we were flying. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with the premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in the comments all the time, where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. Susinelco. Sus. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomatakisan to react like that. Then you're saying that the police conclude Tomatakisan just died from the curse? I couldn't help but feel the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be dissociated from Tomatakisan's history of death. That's what it looks like right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and had been meeting for that was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. That made me a bit relieved. Past the rather than train station, our building to the restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san to the shop. We got inside. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be any children in here, but it was a weekday. Two please, non-smoking. Quickly. When you are ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a particularly dressed waitress to our table. That was the sun in the booth. So what do you think? The waitress is out with your ears, huh? Well, I guess. The shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitress than the food you see. Wait, on your ear. Am I really? Smile. Epic. Epic gamer move. Regardless of how the waitresses look, the food was eaten enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some insane topic after meal coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday, we talked about dealing that was passed, and I'm like, yeah, that was a man-eating demon or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out the notepad I was up in his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onigafuchi, that's quite the name. The name is still around. The march where his wife found herself was still called Ogre's Abyss. It said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realms of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous march. And you see, the kids, they were both fear and oh, this background? Really good. They were starting to be born of fear. I guess you could say it was kind of deification, ignorance of inhumane let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. The price of carrying her son was herself. That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then you see all the people living in Onagafuchi. Fuck! You see all the people living in Onagafuchi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both the mother and the son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh. Wow, there are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to that ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. What a cutie. But well, there are quite a few other tales where the demons from Onagafuchi band together to capture their prey. I recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. I thought it was like unfiction, but I don't think that's a word. So. Normally they hunted down a single person and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with a demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon you. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities. In other words, what happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers of and leaving them to die. There's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then Oishi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating crimes. What do you think, my bar-san? Excuse me, another cup of coffee, please. That's what I want to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say the last part. I waited for the waiter to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi disappeared. Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, my bar-san, I had a bit. Really just a little bit, okay? With background checking done on them. If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends, but as it was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid, my bar-san. If you feel that is stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There was quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This is probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared at my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was an overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Tomatakisan. Multiple altercations. Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. When it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Satoko meaning Satoko? Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down. The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see? Their daughter is Rika Furuta-san. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year. You know already, don't you? It was a step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it as nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way, he was Satoko-san's older brother.
sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to just be a coincidence. My bar-son, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Me, son, Rika-chan. So what if they're connected? You're telling me all of my friends? I couldn't be. I just couldn't be. Oh, Rena is different, isn't she? Rena is connected with the victims after all. Whenever Ryuko-san was living in the suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryuko-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Rena did that? She broke all of the windows at her school? That same silly Rena had? I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after the 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. Among Us. She was diagnosed with Among Us. She was given a week of counseling and medication. Unfortunately, her healthcare, which was non-existent, could not cover the costs. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those match Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of her conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up, and quite a bit of that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. I felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why, when Rena spoke of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa, it seems that Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she went to Hinamizawa. That's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to their residency register, the Ryuga family used to reside in Hinamizawa. Rena-san moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing, and as I lost all sense of comprehension, my bar-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand, Rena. Then how about the last victim, Tomatakisan? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, my bar-san? Didn't you spend the night of the festival together, quite merrily? Quite a few of those officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now, there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned into mush. We should get going. My bar-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I'd completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi-san said that. I got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Yamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention. Drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? Why did you talk to me? I blurted out a question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? We should just stop. Not that. I understood quite well that what you said. So why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing. I couldn't help. Even everything Oishi-san spoke was used to me. I haven't just moved here now. By chance, if there was a reason for it, I looked suspicious. like what I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This job, my bar son, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply, but that was absurd. When did I down, bottom statement. In other words, he was insinuating that the next partnership might be I might be able to. I've been warned by the chief of law. Each incident in this room is solved, so don't bring it up. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. Is this fine? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock reached 2 p.m. I was surprised. So little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my eyes. I won't mind if you just forget everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. All I know Yashido-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel like you have to, my Gara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sure for throwing all of this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of picked up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair, telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact me if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashido-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it. I don't want to die. For some time, I could not do anything but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. Oh man. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is my bar. This is my rider. My bar was in July. Hello. Neil, how are you doing? Oh, this is one of the agents trying to speak to you now, but shall I put him on? Hey, John. After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. I was so good for her, even as we were laughing. Was everybody question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she speaking of me? Why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so insane. It was almost meaningless. The way she said it was almost like she didn't even care about it at all. What I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that I hesitated or tried to change. I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it. So I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun? The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew that's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Well, why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been at school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were with that rather looking older guy. Who was he? Flop. The package filled with mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh, Keiichi. Who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything. How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's something this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seems like you two got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't even have anything to do with you or Rena. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that? Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much that I felt like I was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break the line, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled behind each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, I opened the door and started setting my heart racing. A single eye peered in through the narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you'd miss school tomorrow, alright? The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after the low laughter died off into the distance and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew that Oishi-san and I talked about... Oh, what? Oishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oishi-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa? No, precisely. That Mion, Rena, Satoru, and they were all sus. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that I let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare, but for some reason, it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughingly painless. Calm down, Keiji Maibara. When did I become so pessimist? saw one just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Neon that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where the eye hunch did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same way with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena and was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. I felt like my mind was all mixed up, like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would be poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea. I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mionen is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender. I was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not good, getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. Just my friends. But after hearing the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomatakisan, when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started getting crazy, going crazy. Then hearing from Oishi-san that me on Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all the strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomatakisan in the night of the Watanagashi. If I had just gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't. That's right. So that's why they... Oh, that's... Can they not say killed? Is that fucked or killed? It's probably killed. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know that they censored that. That's interesting. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably guess killed. Oh, well, for the sake of meme, they'll probably fuck. No, killed. For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, it was unforgivable. Three words that made me doubt the others. Of course, a guy like that is going to be killed. But both Tomatakisan and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Oyashiro-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 Oh jeez. Copium. I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling that I had just got enough, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer fighting. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow. Right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in co-activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all. That reminds me, I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remember the homework the two brought with me when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package and I dropped on the floor and headed to the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite the delectable sensation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper, A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, they said Rena made one of these. I wonder which. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So that, just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like the challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma made a ton of them, and was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it, meaning the one Rena had made was this one, E. For a moment I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also attenuated. I think that's attenuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion, but, well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, who besides you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had 1 bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. True. It was right. It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. I didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. I slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then after sticking for a moment, it slid down the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make this for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I had taken out from my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Rena's hair, it was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around my tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on the end of it. Ah, yes. There was a hole for where thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle, exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by look very much like a sewing needle? Just a bit ago, I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my throat, into the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I collapsed both hands over my mouth and, after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the splattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out onto the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder, nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and others, they consider me an enemy, and I thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me, not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep, and I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing bottomless marsh. Yep, fuck. It didn't let me save last time. I guess it's not this. Yeah, it is Harvest Wall. I think that's gonna be it for right now, honestly. My throat's hurting a little bit, so I do believe that'll be all. We went through three chapters. It seems like each episode is going at a pace of 3 chapters. It's fine. Got a bunch of extras. I'll see you hopefully not within a month.